Welcome, everybody. This is the Glacier Gamble podcast. You watched last week's episode. We had 2 episodes last week. If you didn't see those, it was a Loki series pretty much review there and a The Marvels review. So if you haven't seen those, check those out after this. And I just want to remind you here at the beginning, if you've been liking our stuff, our shorts, any of it, like, comment, subscribe, please. Thank you. And now we're going to get into it. We're going to talk today about Madam Web. The trailer came out. For those of you who don't know, that is the next Sony Marvel product. It is not like technically MCU.
The Sony universe of Marvel characters is the
Yeah.
SUMC is what I believe it is called.
I like to shorten it to Sony Spider-Verse.
Sure.
And then we're also going to talk about some castings that came out, possibly some Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal, and confirmed Steven Yeun will be Sentry. So we're going to be talking about that as well.
Which is actually kind of confusing because I know Robert Kirkman obviously worked with Steven Yeun in Walking Dead, and he's working with him in Invincible right now as Steven Yeun voices Invincible. I don't know how that NDA works, but I'm pretty sure if Robert Kirkman's like, hey, who you playing? And Steven Yeun's like, I'm playing Sentry. I don't know if that's really what he should do, but it's good to get some casting rumors. And I think Marvel is getting ready to kind of announce some things finally, now that the strikes are over and stuff. Yeah, if Steven Yeun is playing Sentry, that would be dope. I think we talked about him in the Thunderbolts episode back in the day. Rumored for Sentry. We also thought he could play Mr. Gryphon, which is like a Kang variant as well.
I did want to let you know there is in the end of Quantumania, that credit scene, Mr. Gryphon with Jonathan Majors is there.
Oh, okay. So
he wouldn't be him.
Right.
But let's first, before we talk about that, let's talk about Madam Web. Because that's what's going to be on the thumbnail. That's what's going to be the main title. So let's start with that. That's why people clicked here. The Madam Web trailer came out, and it's got, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney. It's got the whole cast is seen. We get to see all of them. We get to see split seconds of some costumes.
Right, which look very well. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And we got to see the general tone pretty much of what the movie's going to be. Kind of where they're heading with it, which... my initial overall reaction was it looks like a Sony Spider-Verse movie. It's dark. I had to turn the brightness up on my phone just to watch the trailer. And that sounds like satire, but it's not. I genuinely had to turn the brightness up on my phone to see the trailer.
Right. It's you're right in the darkness aspect. It's very similar to the dark of Venom and Morbius so far.
Yeah,
like those are very dark movies. I have high hopes for Craven just because it's going to be outside for most of it, and where there's outside, there's sunlight. So hopefully,
Craven hunts at night, so it's going to be all at night.
Right, yeah. Any Marvel content, I'm excited for. So I don't know too much about Madam Web. I thought she was the Doctor Strange of the Sony universe, and so it's going to be curious to see what other powers she can do. Travel back in time and redo scenarios
similar to Loki in the finale.
Right. And then she also is like catches a giant piece of whatever fell. Like she just
and then throws it. So she's clearly very strong as well, or strong telekinetic powers. I thought the tone of the dialogue in the trailer didn't match the tone of the rest of the trailer.
Yeah, it almost seemed like and I know that in some aspects Dakota Johnson was doing a voiceover parts because it wasn't matching up with what she was saying, or if anyone was talking at all. I'm very curious if they just dubbed over the scenes to kind of not trick, but make us think something else is going on or a different thing is happening, I guess.
Yeah, that's the way that's cut up. Hopefully they're not giving away too much. I hope there's a lot more to it. I do think it looks like it could be good. My expectations right now are slightly below Venom. I liked Venom, so I still think that's a compliment.
We were both very surprised with how Venom was. And at the time, it was the highest grossing superhero movie in November. And then the Joker came out and did 6 times what it made. So,
yeah. Well, and a lot of people didn't like Venom because it was too dark and the action scenes didn't really pan out. And this movie looks like it's very similar. So I know my expectations are that. Possibly some not great action sequences and poor lighting. But aside from that, I still think it's cool to get this set of side characters of Marvel just to get them out there. Kind of like at the end of Venom 2, we got the introduction of Scream. We've been waiting for, Was it Scream or was it
like Screech or
Screech?
Scream.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Screech.
something like that.
Like, getting some characters a lot of people have
Shriek.
never heard. Shriek.
Yeah.
A lot of
There you go.
characters that people have never heard of, or that only like a comic book fan really knows. Like Madam Web.
Sure.
Nobody probably, but the
Madam
general
Web,
fan,
Dakota Johnson looks nothing like Madam Web.
nothing.
Like nothing. Well, Madam Web's this like decrepit old like half spider woman that's blind and like stuck to like a web throne. Like that's the main like image people are using for Madam Web.
Mhm.
And Dakota Johnson does not look like that. But
No.
in order to kind of build this universe of Sony heroes, anti-heroes, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I don't like that they're
Gotta-
going to be anti-heroes.
Then you gotta kind of figure it out, I guess. But
Like I feel the same way about Venom. I was hoping Venom would get to a point where he goes to full villain, but obviously they're still making him anti-hero for some reason. I was like Loki became hero. There were comics where Loki was not necessarily a bad guy. I don't know. It's interesting take to me, but I was hoping these
there's
girls
some
would end up being more villainy.
I see what you mean with the with Venom being a villain. Like Venom is a bad guy, but then even like the Let There Be Carnage storyline, he needed Spider-Man's help to beat Carnage. But then they're still enemies. Like Venom still does not great things. I mean, Venom is called the Lethal Protector, so there is a small part of Venom that does do good.
Right.
Morbius is kind of the same thing. He joins the Midnight Suns at some point, and he's part of that line. But Kraven's just a bad guy, so I'm very curious to see what they do with Kraven. And obviously, they're spinning Madam Web to be good too. So
well, and not
yeah,
just Madam Web, also the other
Spider Women,
the Spider Women,
right. Yeah,
I can't remember. There was a title they were given.
Now the plot around Madam Web, how I understand is that it's like prequel to everything. So like how I understand it is there's this one scene where there's like a baby, right? There's like a baby, and then there's like a spider costume right next to it or something. So I think the whole like kind of plot of the thing is that they're trying to protect a newborn Peter Parker. That's how I understand it.
Adam Scott, which is her co-paramedic, also the like male lead. He plays Ben Parker.
Yeah, that's what.
So he plays Uncle Ben's.
Yeah,
he plays Uncle Ben when he's young.
You're right.
When he would probably be Peter, like when he would probably get Peter.
Sure.
But he's even like younger than that, unless they're saying that he's like in his 40s.
He'd be kind of similar to like where Aunt May's at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in our universe. Whereas everyone, all the other two iterations, Spider-Man and then the Amazing Spider-Man, they were much, much older. Whereas Aunt May is probably in her 40s.
So maybe with it being a prequel, we'll see Dakota Johnson at the end. Maybe she gets blinded. Maybe she's starting to lose her eyesight or something, like maybe hinting towards eventually becoming more like the comic, or they're just going to be, taking this as is, because I mean, Sydney Sweeney looks just like the comic character except for the mask.
Right. Yeah.
So if they're going to try to make it comic accurate, Dakota Johnson's got a lot of prosthetics and stuff that are eventually going to be coming through.
I don't know if they're going to necessarily do that. They got to give her something though. Like they got to do something with her, because the other costumes look sweet. Like the two we see, like Sydney Sweeney's, and then I'm sorry, the other person. But hers even look cool with the like Talon things.
Absolutely, yeah. I think all the costumes that we got to see for the little bit look great. Just a little dark, because like Sydney Sweeney's when she's there, it's like super dark background on the back. Like it's
on the
all the photos
black on black. Yeah,
all the photos I've seen have been made her brighter, change the contrast. None of them take an actual clip from the trailer because it's that hard to see.
Sure, with how I'm going to be a little hard on Sony here, because I think Sydney Sweeney's going to do a great job in this role, but I think they missed a massive opportunity. And that is to make Sydney Sweeney Black Cat in Spider-Man 4, like in our fourth Spider-Man. I think they completely missed that opportunity, because seeing her in the black costume in this with her blonde hair, they should have made her Black Cat. Movie, I think her costume probably looks the best. She's gotten like the most hype out of everything so far. Like through the trailer, it's like, oh, okay, Sydney Sweeney's costume looks badass.
So the other actress's name I just wanted to make sure we got is Isabella Merced, and she's going to be playing Spider-Girl.
Okay, she's playing Hawk Girl actually in Superman Legacy too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
gonna be Spider Girl in this because the
sure,
character she's playing is Anya Corazon, who in the comics is Spider Girl. Emma Roberts is Mary Parker.
sure.
So
Yeah,
we got
yeah, I knew that.
so you
Right,
got the
they're young.
Parkers, Ben
Right,
Parker, and then Celeste O'Connor. I believe she was one of the ones we got to see what she was gonna be like her costume as well.
hers was the Talons, right? Hers was the Talons, I believe.
She's gonna be
Yeah,
playing Maddie Franklin, which eventually becomes Spider Woman.
Sydney Sweeney's playing one of the Spider Women
So they're
as
all
well.
going to
As
be
well,
different variations of Spider Woman. So Spider Woman, Spider Woman, and
sure.
Spider Woman. One is called Spider Girl in the comics. One Spider Woman, and the other Black Cat. Um,
I just think they missed an
they
opportunity to
did.
make her like Black Cat to Tom Holland's Spider-Man in like the next Spider-Man when he's at college. I just think they missed that opportunity. But
I also, when I
her,
picture Dakota Johnson, my casting would probably be Viper.
oh sure, yeah, with the black hair.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah,
like if you're sticking with just yeah. But that
yeah,
would just be me. Just that would
right,
just be my. I think they obviously these castings they're gonna move forward with these characters how they envision it. But
right,
I think they have some better castings they could have done for keeping those same actors, but
sure,
making them somebody else.
right,
They all
yeah,
still it still looks good. We talked to a couple of our friends just to get some general feel. Looked around on Twitter, saw the general reaction, see what's going on. Just like how we've kind of done, we focused a lot on Sydney Sweeney on our commentary here.
right.
99% of the commentary is on Sydney Sweeney, so I do want to like make sure everybody else gets their talk. However, we had a friend, his name is Logan, shout out Logan. He talked about how excited he is. He actually I was not expecting it because nobody's had this reaction, so it was nice to hear it. He was saying that he was extremely excited. He thinks it looks very, very good. Like he was talking about how he wants to see it on the premiere night. He just
Sure.
was extremely excited for it. And hearing that is actually nice considering it's a smaller project. It's a Sony project. It's just not one that I honestly I expect to do well. I
You're right.
don't,
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna do well,
sure,
even if it's a
sure.
good movie.
I think so too. I think it's the more lesser known of the Sony universe of Marvel like their
Mhm.
properties. I think it's less known than like Morbius, and I think it has more star power
Yeah.
than Morbius. Even
Yep.
though Morbius had Jared Leto and Matt Smith, like Matt Smith, shout out Matt Smith. I think he's
He did
a
really,
great
yeah.
actor.
Matt Smith is great.
I think it's going to be kind of like a low, and then when Craven comes out, it's going to be a high for them because I think Craven is going to do very well because they had the kahunas to make it R, and I think
Yes.
that's going to do wonders for their universe, I guess.
So after the reaction to the Marvels, which was a primarily female-led movie,
Sure.
I saw some of the reactions. Like a lot of the hate, I don't think is due to any sexism, but I did see a lot of just direct sexist reviews and
Of
responses.
course. Yeah, you're
Um,
going to get that with any female movie regardless. Like it's
right, and so I think with having now you have like 4 or 5 like female leads that you're going to focus on. I think that's going to it is going to deal with a heavy amount of sexism, but part of that makes me want to see it more, kind of like to show support. Like, hey, there are comic book fans out there that do
right.
want women in the comic book space, do want women involved in comics, because that's my biggest issue with Marvel is like 80% of the people that view it are men. It's like, no, women,
Oh yeah.
there are women, like there are storylines that women would enjoy, but they're still not focusing on the right things to make it enjoyable for women.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think there's doing it the right way, and then there's like the forcing of it. And there's like
Yeah.
there is a gap there where like you can get close to forcing it and still have it be like, I don't know, acceptable, but then you could also stay to the source material and still get the message across you're trying to make.
Right. Well, and
And
once you
so
force it, even women like get upset. Like if you're not forcing it, you're gonna have sorry, that comes out so wrong, I bet. But like even when you're not forcing it, there's gonna be stupid, usually guys on the internet
one of
talking
the like
crap. But if you are
the
forcing it, a lot of women will respond with,
right.
okay,
And
I'm sick of this too.
here's an example. Like I think the Marvels was very close to like what I would imagine the source material is and what they wanted
Hmm.
to do without forcing sexism. But
Hmm.
then pro female men suck, whatever. But then you get something like in Avengers Endgame where Captain Marvel grabs the gauntlet from Peter Parker, and then all of a sudden the women surround Captain Marvel, and Peter Parker is gone from the scene. That's not fluid to what's happening right now. It's just kind of like, let's just do this scene.
We have to fit this in here just because.
Right. Those are the examples, I guess.
Where you try to force it into the storyline as opposed to having the storyline naturally build that, like in the Marvels, which if you guys didn't see, we were very big fans of the Marvels, but they naturally, like, you didn't have to be told that these women were powerful and strong, like they just were. Just, and then Valkyrie came and helped, like they just were. And I hope that that's kind of where Madam Web goes as well. I don't think that they need to force anything. You have a bunch of good acting, you have good casting already, strong characters. If you make it all about the story and don't force anything, it's gonna be a good movie.
Right.
The only thing I'm worried about so far was the lighting in the trailer, which it's a trailer, so it might be different in the movie. So we can give it the benefit of the doubt. And the soundtrack, the choice of song for the trailer was distractingly bad. So I really hope it's not that soundtrack choice as well. Like whoever chose the soundtrack for the trailer.
It was a trailer soundtrack. It was like bad. Slow. Yeah.
It was really bad. Like I was like, can I mute this? But then I can't hear the movie. Anyway, I thought it looks good. I think as we hear more, we'll obviously talk to you about any new news. But yeah, my expectations right now, keep them low.
My expectations are Morbius. And so what I mean by that is if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores for Morbius, critics hated it, but critics also hate Jared Leto for some reason. So
it's his personality.
But then the audience score is very good. Like I've seen Morbius. I actually didn't think it was that bad compared to some other movies I've seen. And I don't think it deserved the like 36% or whatever it is on Rotten Tomatoes. Not a chance. So I think it's going to be something like that. I think you're going to get, and like early the Marvel screenings where critics did not like it, was sitting at around 50%, but then the audience loved it. It was like 86%. So, and now the critic score has risen up about to fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, whether it's because of the women in it. Like, I don't know. Critics just seem to hate women-led projects.
They really do.
I think it's going to have a good audience score. So that's what I think is gonna happen. We saw the Marvels and we were like, well, we liked it similar to the audience score. Like I think we gave it a 7.5, 8, and it's probably right around 80% or something like that. So where we're gonna be at, and I think it's gonna be similar with Madam Web.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I have one ask. Whether it's Madam Web, Sony, I know you're watching this. If it's Madam Web or if it's Kraven the Hunter, tell us who the Spider-Man is of this universe. Please, for the love of God, just let it be Andrew Garfield's. Let it be Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. It makes the most sense. Age-wise, it meshes with everything.
But we don't know who Peter Parker is. So maybe it'll be, the Parkers, but it'll be Miles. It's clearly not Miles Morales. At least we know that. Yeah, I'd like to know the Spider-Man as well. Speaking of Spider-Man, the casting of the Spider-Man, let's talk about some casting news that we heard. So we touched a little in the beginning about Steven Yeun. Let's talk about that one. Steven Yeun's going to play Sentry. He's going to play a blue and yellow hero. Sentry, for those of you,
Invincible. You were making that Invincible reference. Yeah,
that's what he said.
Oh yeah.
Steven Yeun said, "I'm always stuck playing heroes that are blue and yellow."
Sure. Yeah. That makes that. Yeah, because Invincible and then. Yeah, Sentry. So
he's gonna play Sentry. Who, for those, we have a video. We have multiple videos. We talk about it in our World War Hulk video. We have a couple shorts on Steven Yeun as Sentry. And check those out. The shorts are both less than a minute long, so watch them. Sentry is basically one of, if not, depending on who you talk to, the strongest hero.
Yeah.
When Hulk goes on his rampage in World War Hulk in the comics, Sentry is the one that is finally able to stop him. They send almost every hero at him. Nobody can stop him, and Sentry stops him by himself.
Right. He's one of those kind of very conflicted heroes where he has like a bad phase, I guess, because like he was in like Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers, like stuff like that. So like he has a very conflicted.
He's easily persuaded by people with strong ideals. Okay.
Right.
So Norman just
so
tricked him.
if he's in the Thunderbolts, and which we talked about this in another video, if he is the Sentry in the Thunderbolts, he shouldn't come into the very end, because there's no way the Thunderbolts stop him. There's no way a bunch of super soldiers are going to stop him. There's no way. There's no
and
way.
there's
Like,
no way
Bucky
the
Barnes,
villain in the Thunderbolts is bad enough where the Thunderbolts need him.
So he's got to be at the very end, and he's got to be a villain. Like, he's got to be a bad guy first, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I know I have a coworker is just this college kid, but Sentry is his favorite Marvel character. So I'm very excited to talk to him about that.
Well, Steven Yeun's one of my favorite actors, so
right, yeah, no, he's
getting him
fantastic.
with a great character. Oh my gosh. They also can't power him down like they did with Adam Warlock.
Right.
They powered him down so hard. Like, he's too powerful for the way they made him seem in the movie.
Right. For everyone wondering, in Endgame, we had Iron Man do the snap to save everyone. Adam Warlock does that with just unfazed.
He doesn't. It doesn't kill him like it kills Iron Man.
Adam Warlock was the savior. He's the one that essentially took down Thanos too. So,
Sentry in the comics, again, more like stronger than Hulk, and that's a raging Hulk. I still think he is going to maybe he starts in the movie as Sentry, as like the bad guy working with Red Hulk, but then eventually turns into having to work with the Thunderbolts against Red Hulk.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Sentry would steal the show, so I don't want to take away from that Thunderbolts.
Yeah, I still feel that same way. There's Sentry is too big of a character to make to put in Thunderbolts, because every time he's on there, that's the only thing you're going to want to know is Sentry. I'm so happy. Steven Yeun gets to be a character that I know is probably coming back with World War Hulk on the eventual horizon. That means he's probably going to be in it. So I know I get to probably see Steven Yeun in multiple Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely gets me excited. I want to see him in so much, just in everything.
He clears everyone we've seen on screen so far.
Yep. Thanos,
every character we've seen, he clears.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, depending on how fast Sentry can move and where he's at. If Wanda could have a thought, maybe Wanda could take him.
It's kind of like the Superman thing. Like, Superman beats everyone because he's that fast, he's that strong. Without kryptonite on you, Superman. Sentry's kind of that. They're gonna have to power him down some way in the movie because he's that strong. But hopefully they don't power him down so much. When
Thor's at his like peak, Sentry can take him. Like, that's and Thor's the strongest person.
When Thor's got Mjolnir and Stormbreaker and angry and all that, he's got all the plates on. Yeah, still Sentry can take him. Gross. That's gonna be so good. But one person that does, there is a version of Thor that rivals Sentry in power. In the comics,
Thor can get pretty damn crazy when it comes to power levels.
If you think Sentry's an alpha, let's just say there's a beta version of Thor that is pretty strong too.
Right.
Maybe a Beta Ray.
Yeah, I think I don't know. There's so many characters that they still need to introduce, which makes me excited. Always excited. Even Madam Web, that's new characters to the universe. That are technically canon in the MCU, because Venom is canon in the MCU. And Madam Web is in that universe, so therefore she's canon.
Morbius is canon,
right? Yeah. Morbius is canon too, because they completely messed up the credit scene, and so Vulture is now over there for some reason.
So positive about Sentry, it's Steven Yeun, and he's extremely cool as a character. Negatives, he's going to probably take away from the Thunderbolts, and you're going to have to dumb him down because he's that strong. The other major casting that happened, though, or
possibly, that's what's still not set in stone,
is Fantastic Four. Currently one of, in my opinion, maybe the hottest name in acting. I think Pedro Pascal, who's the potential Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Pedro Pascal is the name that when you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, like Mandalorian, Last of It. Like, he's in so many, not just
Game of Thrones.
Right. He's not just in like big products, he's in successful products. So I think people want more of him. And he's a really funny guy. Like, his interviews, he's funny. He just people love him. And so putting him in there would definitely be a Marvel Disney huge move.
And I think the most smoke around all of the like the Fantastic Four castings is Vanessa Kirby.
Mhm.
And I think that if they like Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, I think are just home runs. So,
So that is where Joe and I differ. I would rather have somebody else besides Pedro Pascal, but I get the
I would
reason
too, but
why.
I think they also a bunch of like news outlets or whatever that said he could possibly be playing the other character. He could possibly play the other
Galactus.
big character. No, he could also be
Oh,
playing Doom. I guess you don't get to see a really villainous side of Pedro Pascal often. I don't know. If he's attached to the project, I hope it's. I'm okay with Reed Richards. I would prefer it to be Doctor Doom, but I also would think it'd just be awesome if it was Mole Man. So
a Mole Man, I think I would like that better. I don't know if I'd want him as Doom. I think he would be better as Doom than he would be as Mr.
I
Fantastic.
think that I agree. I agree.
Um,
But I don't see like I've seen like the brutal side of him in The Last of Us.
yeah.
And so like I've seen that like very have to kill people kind of
hmm
thing. I don't know if that would kind of translate to the Marvel universe. I don't
Obviously, we'll
know. I
see
think
what their
it's
vision for the characters are, but from what most fans probably have in their head, Pedro Pascal is a great person and actor, but does he fit the role of Mr. Fantastic? I don't think so, but he might kill it. If he is
right.
Mr. Fantastic, he's going to do a good job. It's just might not be what we necessarily envision or
And
want.
I think that the Fantastic Four they've stated before that they want it to be like Sue Storm to kind of be the
The
face
focus,
of it, I
which
guess.
the internet lately is all about because of it. All day yesterday, it was just Jessica Alba stuff. And it was like, just know whoever it does end up is going to have to compete. As if Jessica Alba blew us away with her Invisible
Yeah.
Woman.
No,
Nobody in
no,
that
she
original
blew us.
Fantastic Four blew us away except Doom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody, like
It
they were
was
all good, not great. I don't think
right,
it's really that big of
exactly.
shoes to fill.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jessica Alba was okay. Jessica Alba was my first celebrity crush because of that movie.
Right. Well,
Was
that's
it
the
because
part of
of
it
the
is like,
acting? Not necessarily. It was because
right.
she was just
So
hot as
people are like,
hell
she's
at
got
the time.
huge
So
shoes to fill. I think a big part of it is she's just that attractive. Like
yeah, I
people
think
loved her
Vanessa
in it.
Kirby clears from an acting standpoint, from a look standpoint. I think she clears every
You mean like
iteration of.
as in looks, you mean how she looks compared to how Sue Storm looks in the comics?
Yeah, I think it's the closest we've ever had to what Sue Storm looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Vanessa Kirby. So
I think Jessica Alba did a good job, not great. I think
yeah.
Vanessa Kirby has the chance to do a great job.
Oh
So
yeah.
people are acting like it's really tough. I think the person with the hardest shoes to fill would be the villain.
Yeah.
And if that's
Oh, that's
Pedro
gonna be the
Pascal,
hardest.
cool.
That's gonna be the hardest nail to hit to
We did
hammer,
get
I
a
guess.
casting rumor for the villain apparently yesterday. Javier Bardem. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, Javier Bardem for
Javier
Galactus.
Bardem is
Yeah.
rumored to play Galactus. For those of you who aren't familiar with that name, he plays Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, in which he won an Oscar, where he is pretty much just a villain the whole movie, and he is a psychopath. He plays a psychopath well, and he plays the role of somebody who is doing what they think is the correct thing. Like Galactus just does what he thinks should be done,
He
not
just needs to
necessarily with
eat.
ill
Like he
intent.
just needs to eat. Yeah, he just needs to eat planets to survive,
I think
essentially.
Javier
So
Bardem kills that role.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
whatever Pedro Pascal plays, he's going to do a good job. If I'm picking, Mole Man would be much more preferred.
Yeah, I
And
think
yeah,
that's
I don't want him as my Reed Richards.
sure.
He's not who I picture as Reed Richards. And like, I don't know how tall Pedro Pascal is. I don't think height tends to matter on actors just because.
It doesn't really for Mr. Fantastic, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
They can kind of change how they view on there, but I would prefer, like, when I picture Pedro Pascal, he has a good amount of muscle. He's a little too muscly for me
yeah,
like
yeah, you're right. You're right.
I wouldn't mind a little bit more scrawniness to my Mr.
Right.
Fantastic because this is supposed to be like a super stretchy guy. It just tends to
Right.
fit the role better.
Right. Yeah, your
Um,
muscle is coming from Ben Grimm. Like
right.
that's where your muscle's coming
I
from.
don't
So
I almost don't want Mr. Fantastic to look like he can beat anybody up,
right.
but
Sure.
he does because of his powers. But when
Right.
you have Pedro Pascal in that Fantastic Four suit, because it's skin tight, he's
Yeah.
gonna look like he can beat people up.
Right.
When Ewan or Young Graffold doesn't ever
Right.
look like he could beat anyone up. Like that guy looks like somebody that somebody off the street could punch and take his money.
Right.
But then Mr. Fantastic goes like slurps him up and kills him, you know. Well, perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. I think where we have no casting rumors yet. Like even they asked Vanessa Kirby and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do that, but I don't know." And it's like, well, you were the first one, and you've always, you were the first one, and it's been nothing but, oh yeah, it's Vanessa Kirby.
Out of all the rumors, Vanessa Kirby's Invisible Woman would probably, like, if I could pick one to be true, it's probably that one. My second choice would be Javier Bardem's Galactus. I would rather have Pedro Pascal someplace else. I don't think he fits what I want.
He could play Ben Grimm. What about Ben Grimm?
He could be good. He could do Ben Grimm, but I don't know. Fantastic Four is a hard casting, and you have to nail all of them.
Yeah,
you have to nail the villain. It is kind of that the secret big project for product for Marvel. Like, it is Marvel's first family. It is a big deal. We'll see what ends up becoming true. We only got a couple of minutes left here, so we unless you have more to say, I think we can end it there.
Got nada.
All right. Well, let us know. Who'd you want Pedro Pascal to be? Do you want him to be Mr. Fantastic, Ben Grimm, Mole Man, Dr. Doom? What do you think about the other castings?
Do you want him to be Sue Storm?
Do you want him to be Sue Storm? Or do you want Scarlett Johansson to play all of them? And then let us know what you think of Madam Web. Is it going to be good? Because we think it's going to be good. Do want to let you all know that you look great today, though. GG! GG! There we go. You got it on there. Let's go.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you.